Here's an interesting fact. The average lightning bolt delivers about 1.5 million volts of electricity. But as you're about to see, it might be possible that some people have a kind of immunity to that kind of shock. The origin of this video is undetermined. We believe it's from China. Watch closely. A man walks into this driveway. After he's struck by lightning, incredibly, he gets up and then a double lightning strike. Amazing. And in August 2020, another stunning video. This truck in Thailand gets stuck on some overhead wires. When the driver gets out, he's in for a shock. Look again. As we push in and slow down, the man literally catches fire and collapses. But the craziest thing is, he survived with only minor burns.
The questions that pop into my mind, how could he survive something like that?
Professor Diana Pasulka says massive electrocutions are known to do strange things to people. For one thing, lightning strikes often leave bizarre markings called Lichtenberg figures on people's flesh. There are people who seem to develop electroimmunity, like this man in India, who brags about an ability to withstand lethal levels of electricity. And Pasulka has even heard of one survivor who later developed a peculiar talent.
She had this very sad and burdensome skill of identifying when plane crashes are going to happen. So I think that we have to think about these people who survive these kinds of terrible electrocutions as definitely superhumans in one sense.
Nearly 250,000 people get hit by lightning each year. Their injuries depend in part on where the strike hits them and how the jolt moves through their body. But it's rare for these incidents to be caught on camera. So is this footage real? And can it tell us anything about whether these people have an extraordinary ability to resist a massive electrical charge? Let's take our video to the experts. Our atmospheric scientist, Dr. Deanna Hens, says the alleged China footage raises some red flags.
It is interesting that this person is struck by lightning in the middle of the street when there's lots and lots and lots of much taller objects on all sides of them. That would have to be an incredible stroke of bad luck to still be struck by lightning in the middle of this relatively narrow street.
And the footage is sending science writer Mick West into full debunking mode.
The suspicious thing here is that it doesn't like the tops of the trees, and this shadow here remains the same.
With a few keystrokes, he shows us how the lightning was inserted.
What if I take this particular frame and just give an exposure modification to it? So I did that, and we basically get the same image, and then just draw some kind of jaggy line like this. Take that and blur it.
But he believes the Thai footage is for real, despite the theatrical way the victim collapses.
When he fell over, that looked very strange because he just kind of went stiff and then fell over. But that's actually what happens. It looks very unnatural.
So if this footage is real, does this flaming man have a superhuman power? And how does India's Electro Man do it? West says that special power is like beauty. It's skin deep.
There are some people who have essentially thicker, drier skin than other people, which means their skin has more resistance, because for electricity to be transmitted in the human body, it generally needs some kind of moisture, like water. It's almost like you're wearing a set of extra gloves.
So here's where we're ending up. The China video is a straight-up hoax. Please, the shadows gave it away. But the Thai video is real, and it does suggest that some people can take massive jolts of electricity, possibly because of their skin. Our verdict? It may be a rare physical trait. It began in 1991, when a deep-water hydrophone, like this, first detected a sound emanating from 5,000 miles away, someplace in the Pacific Ocean, roughly halfway between Australia and South America. Let's listen to it again. The whoop, whoop sound ascends at the end. That's why it's known as the Upsweep. Now, the ocean is a noisy place. There's man-made machines, geological events like volcanoes and glaciers, And the sea life is much noisier than previously believed. With so much left to be discovered down there, journalist Alexis Brooks suggests the upsweep may be caused by some unknown sea beast.
There are many creatures that roam the sea that people felt were, in fact, myth until they were actually discovered. For instance, the giant squid. It is now known that it exists.
One thing is certain, the source of the upsweep has to be massive. So let's consider this candidate, the massive prehistoric shark known as the megalodon.
It's been established that the megalodon actually did exist, albeit 2.5 million years ago, with estimates of its length being in excess of 60 feet and weight upwards of 50 tons. However, there are people who feel that the megalodon still exists.
Could this recent photo be proof the megalodon is still alive? It shows a huge mako shark found by a fisherman off the coast of Australia, bitten in half.
You have to take a deep breath and say, what on God's green earth severed the shark? How big could that have been?
So the famous megalodon is one interesting potential source of the upsweep, but there are plenty of other theories about that strange sound. For answers, we turn first to our expert on ocean life. Marine biologist Dr. Shay Conger starts by tackling the megalodon theory.
It's unlikely that megalodons are still in our oceans because of the fact that shark teeth are continually shed through the animal's life. There's never been a current specimen of a megalodon tooth that's ever been found.
And as for that chewed up mako shark,
if this were attacked by a megalodon, it likely could have been swallowed completely whole. Instead, what you see are several very large semicircular bite marks, including some teeth rakes. What this tells me is that this animal suffered a number of bite wounds.
likely during a feeding frenzy by other sharks. But something is making that sound, and if it's not the megalodon, what is it? Audio expert Dr. Ben Gottesman is struck by the sound's intensity, focusing on the stunning fact that it was first detected at a distance of 5,000 miles.
That's what makes me think it's some very large, very intense seismic sound.
So let's listen to the sound of an underwater volcano. Note that it trails off at the end. Now the upsweep. Again, the signature ascension. This doesn't match anything seismic. So what about a man-made source, like the machinery used for offshore oil drilling?
Pile drivers or different machines in the ocean have a more mechanically spaced, more stereotypical, impulsive sound. That's not what we see here.
Because the upsweep varies, Conger says it's likely the sound was made by an animal, but with a catch.
The upsweep is a sound that we have as yet attributed to any species of marine mammal. The upsweep doesn't currently match any of these profiles.
Humpback whale sounds can travel thousands of miles, just like the upsweep. But again, none match its acoustic profile. So you see why it's remained a mystery for so long. Every possible explanation doesn't quite fit. But we agree with Dr. Conger. Our verdict? A very large, unidentified marine mammal. Not the megalodon, but something we don't even have a name for yet.
In February 2021, a fisherman named Abdullah Nurin in Indonesia's East Nusa Tenggara province pulls in a shocking haul. He takes it home and records this video. The footage shows a deceased baby shark with eerily human-like facial features propped up on a sofa. The strange creature is about the size of a human hand and appears to have a wide, gaping mouth, big round eyes, and a human-like look of surprise.
We've heard of deformities in all species, really, but this is quite unnerving.
Perhaps radioactivity is a factor here. In February 2020, high contamination levels were detected near an Indonesian nuclear research facility in Serpong.
Chernobyl had marked increases in their gene mutation and deformities of animal and plant life. So the mutant shark, I could see that being the result of excess radiation and nuclear waste.
A quick warning that some viewers might find the following images disturbing. In 1990, around 400 deformed animals were born in Chernobyl. Most deformities were so severe the animals only lived a few hours. Examples of defects included facial malformations, extra appendages, abnormal coloring, and reduced size.
So what exactly is going on in the waters of Indonesia that created that strange shark?
Is it nuclear radiation? Or is there a more natural explanation? We'll turn it over to our experts to decide. Biologist Dr. Floyd Hayes begins his analysis by trying to determine if the human-faced shark is even real.
It has an unusually large and wide head. The eyes do not look like normal eyes. And you could also see a very unnatural-looking line at the bottom, and it looks like a mask that has been placed over the head of a normal shark.
However, our zoologist, Roxy Furman, respectfully disagrees.
The texture of its skin looks very real to me. It would be very hard to recreate something this well, I think, without noticing any flaws in texture.
But Furman and Dr. Hayes can agree on what wasn't the cause of this oddity.
There's been nuclear waste dumping in the region, which can cause mutations in animals. But if it was something that had been a mutation as a result of radiation or something, you'd expect to see lumps across the skin or other indications of deformities rather than just what we're seeing in this video.
See the twisted and gnarled limbs of the stillborn piglet from Chernobyl? This is what Furman is talking about. It's caused by damaged or broken DNA molecules which produce the mutation. Mutated DNA can also result in tumors. If a mutation occurs in an egg, it can result in a non-viable embryo or one with serious birth defects. So if it's not nuclear radiation causing these deformities, then what is? Could the shark simply be too young?
This is a result of overfishing. It's a result of bycatch. It looks like a real animal to me. It's just premature. So we're seeing an animal here that's not yet fully formed, something that's not had the full phase of development.
Marine biologist Dr. Shay Conger disagrees. She points out that a premature shark would look scrawny and malnourished. Instead, she thinks it suffers from a rare malady.
This looks to me very typical of something called cyclopia. That's where the brainstem doesn't develop normally. We'll often see deformities around the head area because organs like our eyes are really directly connected to our brain itself.
Cyclopia gets its name from the Cyclops, the one-eyed monster from Greek mythology. It occurs in roughly 1 in every 250 embryos, often resulting in stillbirth. In this case, Conger says that's why this shark's eyes are on the underside of the head instead of on top where they should be. She agrees with Furman that people are to blame, but in this case, the problem isn't overfishing, it's overdumping.
Your everyday pollution from things like plastics or industrial runoff are much more common in the ocean and very readily cause these types of defects. I would say this shark is just subject to a type of normal pollution that resulted in it not dividing normally and ending up in this type of condition.
So we have a broad divergence of opinion here. Our experts aren't even unanimous about whether this thing was real. We're going to rely on our marine biologist here. She specializes in this stuff. Our verdict? We're looking at a birth defect caused by pollution. Sadly, given how badly we're trashing our oceans, that just makes the most sense.
In October 2017, a man is about to step into his sister's bathroom in Alor Setar, Malaysia. When he notices something crawling out of the toilet, the 28-year-old immediately rushes out to tell his sister, who whips out her camera and captures this video. The footage shows a strange, slithering creature emerging from the bathroom with its head poking out of the door. It surveys its surroundings before finally crawling out onto the tiled floor. Let's take another look. The creature appears to be about 6 feet long, with a small head, thick body, and a short tail. Field researcher Ken Gerhardt has studied river monsters, lake monsters, and now sewer monsters.
It's large, it's slimy and black. It's crawling out of a toilet. That's about as bad as it gets. People don't generally spend a lot of time, if any time, in a sewer. So we really don't have any idea of what types of creepy crawlies might be down there.
Gerhard says the most persistent urban legend involves the sewers of the Big Apple.
There are accounts and rumors going back to the 1930s that describe sizable alligators actually living and breeding in the New York sewer system. There is one theory that perhaps these were pets that were somehow discarded and flushed down the toilet when they were small and then grew to massive sizes in the sewer.
Of course, not all sewer animals are monsters. Sometimes animals just get stuck in the sewers, trapped by size or circumstance. And everything from giant rats, feral cats, even cows, have been found in sewer systems around the world. And marine biologist Dr. Shay Conger says in Southeast Asia, giant snakes turn up down there too.
It's a really tropical, forested environment. In fact, it's been known that there have been snakes that have emerged from toilets or plumbing.
In fact, in 2019, this 14-foot cobra was found in a sewer in Thailand.
Sewer creatures have been making headlines for decades, but it is rare to encounter anything this big and this disturbing. So could this be a giant snake? Or maybe just some form of camera trickery? Let's go to our video expert.
This recording has been compressed pretty heavily, so in layman's terms, it's too blurry to see anything to be able to identify exactly what we're seeing. However, in terms of authenticity of the way that the recording is playing and the way that the camera operator is capturing this object, I don't see anything to suggest it's been CGI'd or Photoshopped.
So if the video is real, is this thing a snake? Dr. Conger says we need to consider other slimy creatures known to slither across this part of the world.
Malaysia is home to amphibians that we call caecilians. And these are salamander-like animals that don't have limbs or any external appendages, so they look a bit like giant worms. These animals can actually get 5 to 6 feet long, but what you have in essence is an animal that's only a few inches in diameter. And so my idea that this could be some sort of caecilian goes out the window.
Conger has another thought that's even grosser.
Malaysia is pretty well known for its leeches, which are blood-sucking invertebrates. But if this were a leech, it would have to be 30 or 40 times bigger than a known species of leech, which I think is really unlikely.
Professor Floyd Hayes, who has been fascinated with snakes since childhood, is pretty sure he knows what we're looking at. And it's not some sort of mythical serpent.
There are quite a few different species of snakes in Malaysia. This one appears to be very thick-bodied, and there's not that many species that would look like this. It looks a lot like the elephant trunk snake.
Hayes says that the baggy skin, which gives the impression that it's too big for the animal, is the telltale sign.
So our verdict? Based on its known habitat and size, we think the sewer monster is an elephant trunk snake. And while they usually make their homes near rivers and lagoons, this one chose a toilet instead. No accounting for taste.